Yuta vs Hakari is one of, if not the most debated about JJK topic in the entire series, with chapter after chapter pushing the winner of this matchup towards Yuta or Hakari. With the recent release of chapter 262 part 2, as of the recording of this video, we're watching Yuta battle Sukuna in Gojo's body, and this has pushed many fans' opinions towards Yuta being the victor in this matchup. But I'm here to tell you all that I believe this battle is kind of close, and I'll be explaining why. But before the video starts, please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and comment if you enjoy my content and would want to support me and the channel. And with all of that being said, let's get on with the video. So starting with Volume 0 Yuta versus Perfect Preparation Hakari, something to keep in mind is that there's a very clear distinction between the version of Yuta here and the one later in the series, and it's primarily because of Rika. The version of Rika he has here is actually her full soul as a cursed spirit, and she is also able to be fully manifested at all times as long as Yuta summons her through his ring, and he keeps the benefits he would normally have access to, like Rika's curse energy, which, depending on how you view Geto's statement, is said to be boundless or limitless, and Yuta would also have any copied curse techniques in his possession, which would only be curse speech since he wouldn't have access to any of the other techniques we see later in the series. Not to mention, he also doesn't have his domain expansion, so there's also quite a bit of versatility lost there. Essentially, this version of Yuta pretty much has to rely on his combos with Rika and swordsmanship, but I'm not sure if this is enough since Geto was able to 1v2 both of them with Playful Cloud, and Yuta during this time is still pretty inexperienced as a sorcerer and is slowly getting the hang of battle. As far as this matchup goes, I don't really see curse speech working on Hakari since he could just cover his ears in curse energy to negate the effect. However, I think it's important to note that Yuta was getting progressively stronger and faster during his fight with Geto, and this happened in response to taking damage from Geto, which you could apply for this battle as well. Then there's also his binding vow with Rika, where he was able to have the output of his love beam be significantly increased, like he used to overpower Geto's maximum Uzumaki. This could actually be enough to kill Hakari if he is either not in his jackpot state, or if he is, it takes his entire head off. And when it comes to Hakari, he scales to a later version of Yuta, who is overall a much stronger and more competent sorcerer, being stated to be second to Gojo, with Hakari being said to be even stronger than Yuta when he's on a roll or in his jackpot state. So given this information, I'd have to say that if Yuta is able to take Hakari's head off with his love beam, then he should be able to win. Otherwise, in any other scenario, Hakari should be able to defeat Volume 0 Yuta pretty definitively. Next is Itadori Extermination Yuta versus Perfect Preparation Hakari, and this battle is a lot better than the previous one. This matchup is basically a holding back base Yuta versus a base Hakari. So as I said before, Yuta is stated second to Gojo, and Hakari is pretty much relative to but weaker than Yuta in his base. So when going off just this, then it should be clear that Yuta wins, but what about their feats? When you go off their performance against Yuji, then this actually leans more towards Hakari again getting the win. During the Itadori Extermination arc, Yuta fights against Yuji, and this Yuji is stated to be a demon god compared to his version of himself in Shibuya, being stated to have added finesse to his jujutsu and has fluid control of his curse energy. This version of Yuji was also stated to not be fully healed from the Shibuya incident, so he is also nerfed on top of that, and Yuta was having some difficulty trying to attack Yuji and was not able to seriously damage Yuji compared to when Hakari fought him. When Hakari and Yuji first begin battling, Hakari is able to immediately catch Yuji off guard and give him a bloody mouth and bruised face off of just 2 attacks, and completely tanks a headbutt from him. Yuji during this moment is not only 100% healed, but is also serious as he wants Hakari to listen to him and is actively fighting back. However, during the second half of the fight, Yuji completely gives up on fighting back against Hakari and is instead enduring all of his attacks to get him to listen. Even though Yuji is constantly getting back up from these hits, he is still taking massive damage and even shot blood out of his nose, showing how damaged he actually is, and has even more bruises on his face compared to before. And Hakari's punches are also able to send Yuji flying across the rooftop. So when comparing the feats of these two, it should be easy to see that Hakari does have more raw strength than Yuta does, especially since this Yuta is holding back while also in his base, and Hakari was performing much better against the 100% demon god Yuji and damaged him more easily, where Yuta was going pretty relative with a weaker Yuji and pretty much needed Rika to hold him in place to kill him. So when going off of statements, then Yuta should win, but with feats it leans more towards Hakari. Next is Culling Games Yuta versus Culling Games Hakari, and again this battle battle is really close, but let's compare the feats they both have during this time. Starting with Yuta, he goes into Sendai Colony and has a long and drawn out fight with the likes of Kurorushi, Ryu Ishigori, and Oro, but the most impressive one of them all is Ryu. He was stated to have the highest curse energy output amongst all the players in the Culling games, which would obviously include Hakari, and this might even include him in his jackpot state, since the statement was never clarified on again and is reinforced a few times in the manga. So if you believe that Ryu's output is greater than that of Hakari's in jackpot, and he was able to go high to extreme diff with him, then you can give more credence to Yuta being the victor here, especially since Yuta can wait out the jackpot timer and overwhelm base Hakari with Rika, or if you don't think that it's greater than Hakari's, then the battle becomes more back and forth. But I do think that Yuta has more win cons, especially because now he has access to sky manipulation, and this will allow him to bypass Hakari's defenses and deal massive damage when he's not in his jackpot. And couple this with his usage of curse speech, his love beam, and Rika tag team, then I can definitely see him getting the win. The only win con for Hakari is to outlast Yuta, and I'm not really sure if he can do that, since Yuta is able to refill and access Rika's curse energy if he needs to, and has a lot of versatility at his disposal. Hakari also wouldn't be able to immediately one-shot or take down Yuta, since all he does is punch and kick, and once his jackpot runs out, he'll need to activate another one, and I'm confident that before that happens, Yuta would be able to take him out. So for this round, I have Culling Games Yuta beating Culling Games Hakari. Next is Sukuna Raid Yuta versus Sukuna Raid Hakari, and this battle has many different factors I think are really important to take note of. When talking about this matchup, both he and Hakari get a substantial buff to their overall combat capabilities, and it's stated that everyone trained in preparation for the Sukuna Raid, and in regard to Yuta, he was able to strengthen his barrier techniques, which would include his domain expansion, plus he also has access to things like Charles' clairvoyance, which lets him see seconds into the future. He has sky manipulation, which lets him manipulate surfaces, and can use this to cover his attacks. He can also use Jacob's Ladder to nullify and disable Hakari's curse technique, which is tied to his domain, which will also make it so that he can't enter his jackpot state, and he can use it at maximum output for increased effectiveness. Yuta is also said during this time to constantly be referenced as the second strongest sorcerer behind Gojo, being said to be the number 2 by Kenjaku, is said to be the prodigy of this generation. He's also the leader of the heavy hitters, which includes Hakari and Awakened Maki, and Sukuna himself, who is also aware of Hakari, says that Yuta would not only be the strongest out of everyone, but also give him the best fight as well, and as usual, he'd have Rika at his side to combo with, and just as I said before, the only thing Hakari can honestly do is just punch and kick, and has no versatility whatsoever, so I think that in this fight, the win goes completely to Yuta, and it's really not close. And finally, we have Yuta in Gojo's body versus Hakari, and this is really confusing to talk about, but I'll try my best. So essentially, while Yuta is in Gojo's body, he can only use Gojo's techniques and not his own, and Yuta is very inexperienced with them. He misfires blue against Sukuna and can't land purple on him since Sukuna is just being extremely aggressive while using domain amplification. Hakari hasn't learned domain amplification, so he can't use it to nullify the limitless. So despite Yuta's inexperience, he can't actually be hit by Hakari. He also has trouble doing regular punches and kicks in Gojo's body, but I don't think it's enough to give an edge to Hakari, especially because he has access to Unlimited Void, which will give Yuta an immediate win con against Hakari. So again, because Hakari has no way to bypass the limitless, and if he gets hit by a possible hollow purple or domain expansion, he gets immediately killed if he's not in his jackpot state. So to tally up all the points, Yuta has 3 in total for being able to pretty soundly be able to defeat Hakari, while Hakari only has 2 points, only being able to beat Yuta in 2 different arcs. This battle, when comparing earlier versions of Yuta and Hakari, lean more towards Hakari in general, since he scales to a later version of Yuta, who is way stronger, has more versatility, and is overall a more competent sorcerer than his earlier counterparts, while also having more impressive feats. But once you get into the Culling games and onwards, due to Yuta having his domain expansion, more curse energy at his disposal, the many statements that flat out call him the second strongest behind Gojo, and even his feats against other sorcerers, this battle goes to show that Yuta truly is a contender for the strongest. Thank you all for watching the video, and please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and comment if you're new here and you enjoyed the video. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.